the question is not, can we get someone else to pay for it? It's not, you know, whether it's funding dollars are there. The question is there a benefit long term? And the things that I've read in these articles indicate you get an initial bump for those students coming in, but there's not any information that I've seen from these articles that talks about long-term benefit. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things we say all along is, where is the documentation showing that these students actually benefit long-term? I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that in the articles. And we've actually had articles the opposite that says long-term, there is no benefit.
Well, the pre-K now one that we received, I read that one very well. And by the end of it, I couldn't read anymore. It was just written so poorly with data, it's ridiculous. I mean, first they lop out Wisconsin, then they lop out Milwaukee. Then they have to point to Milwaukee to justify the reasoning for it, but they move Milwaukee back into Wisconsin to say Wisconsin should do it. The only reason, they don't ever tell you why Wisconsin other than Milwaukee should do it. They don't say that. They say with Milwaukee in there, this is why they should do it. And they always point back to the achievement of the low-performing students. And some of the things they have on there, that our students will stay out of incarceration, this and that, I'm thinking, this is not describing Waterford at all. I mean, the article was just, it's a terribly written article. Maybe good for an inner city issue if you want to read it for that. But I see nothing in there that has any data for students that aren't inner city, low performing, with bad environments, you know? And that's the only thing, we haven't seen any data yet for otherwise.
And they talk about generating revenue, you know, you're spending.
I tried to find out who pre-K now is, I don't know, even after searching it, I don't know who's funding it.
In fact, I heard Burlington might be quitting their Head Start program.
I hadn't heard that.
That's
So I can't confirm it.
Head Start data will show that it's not successful and that they target only a certain group. The articles indicated that you can't just target a certain population because they rise best when they're integrated with other peers of not similar makeup. And I think going to your point, Paul, about longitudinal data, I think it's very hard to keep families and children in those studies to continue much beyond third grade. They move those things and then you don't have, you know, good reliability and validity in your studies to continue with that. Because I mean, in order to keep the data that you're looking for beyond third grade, you have to keep those the same cohort of kids.
But not a population group like Waterford, they don't. It's very,
I mean, if you're doing a study of longitudinal,
yeah.
I mean, you have to keep a certain number in there to have good reliability and validity to publish such a study.
I mean, for like a group like Waterford, majority of the kids that I knew from kindergarten, I just was at the graduation yesterday for those same students. And it's like, we have extreme low percentage of students moving. The other thing I would say is if our district was doing poorly, but we're doing better than most of the districts around us. You know?
Common Core state standards are coming our way, and 90% of our districts have 4K. And I think that, you know, they're going to be aligning with that, and I think we might see a difference in those results.
Going forward.
I think that, you know, it might be an opportune time to take a look at it, knowing that we're having an increase in rigor in our academics.
I was surprised to see that 65% of our students now are attending some kind of 4K.
Yeah, and it's varied, and I brought the different locations of that. The one thing that, you know, we don't have a lot of retentions within the district, but it prevents that, which is something that applies to Waterford. It gives our special education students, you know, typical developing peers as models. Early childhood students could attend that. That gives them a better start at their education also. So I think those are things the board needs to consider also.
Yeah, but I'm not with Paul though. I would say if somebody was paying for the whole thing, I would be.
You know, honestly, that's why I brought the Title I preschool piece out as an option, because it targets those kids that still might need that extra intervention.
That sounds like one classroom.
Probably.
Right?
Probably.
How do you get away with that? We've got how many classrooms throughout the district? What do we got? 6, 8?
Well, you would have to. Yeah, you would have to set up the screener and the assessment, and you know the other part is there's some qualities in kids' backgrounds that will automatically trigger them for that programming if we had it in place as well.
Your screener would have to be based on poverty.
Not necessarily.
Well, what else?
What else would you do?
Basically, I think the first step.
Single parent household, maybe?
The poverty would be an indicator, no dispute. The other part is though, is I would reach out to Sandy through special ed because they do, their their screening, I forget what it's called, child find, yeah, they do their child find, and there are kids that don't necessarily qualify for special ed, but yet they're
Low.
lagging, yeah, exactly, they're lagging or they're low, and so we
They
would
fall right
approach.
between, which they're the ones that end up when they start school are the ones that are lagging behind.
Right.
I'd be cautious though of putting all those together in the same environment. I mean, I think the research shows that we not get as far as if we can make sure we also have other peers.
Yeah, 'cause the problem is, just because you're poor doesn't mean you're not intelligent as a student.
That's exactly
Right.
right.
There's some very intelligent
I'm here to
students
tell you,
that are-
yeah, just because you're in the inner city doesn't mean you're not intelligent. I mean,
Correct.
so I'm not quite sure what kind of screening process you could come up with to say you could fill a class, and then you limit it to only 25 students or 20 students,
Right.
you know?
Right. Well, to
Yeah.
answer your question, there are standardized screeners that are available in the education world that we would use, that other districts use to help determine that.
I mean, I'm just, I'm saying if we go forward with something like that, I'm just hoping it doesn't wind up being just a poverty level thing.
Right.
But does Title I dictate that?
No,
Okay,
no, what Title I is dictating is that kids that are at risk of not meeting the state standards,
okay.
that's their,
So this is like a EC plus is what it winds up being.
right, but the kids don't have an IEP. You have to keep in mind EC is special ed driven,
Yeah.
and this particular title piece would not be.
So the state standards are becoming more rigid.
Exactly, and rigorous, yes.
Yeah.